Look at this. FBI agents raiding the Maryland home of former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton.
I know nothing about it. I just saw it this morning. They did a raid.
Do you expect the DOJ to brief you on this?
Yeah, they'll brief me. Probably today sometime.
And the foreign minister.
I tell Pam and I tell the group, I don't want to know, but just you have to do what you have to do. I don't want to know about it. It's not necessary. I could know about it. I could be the one starting it. I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer, but I feel that it's better this way.
Yeah. He didn't have to know. He could know. He did know this is his idea. That's why they did it. He totally knew. But yeah, John Bolton has now been raided. It's part of a national security investigation in search of classified records, which is now a legitimate thing to do. It was not before he was sworn in. Then it was partisan and illegal. But now classified records are very important. And I think the hunt for classified records very important. If it turns out that John Bolton has been hiding those pesky Epstein documents we can't get released, then yes, I think they should hunt them down and release them. But anyway, we've known for a long time that Donald Trump is not a big fan of John Bolton. He's his former advisor on national security specifically. And so because Bolton has spent the past couple of years criticizing Donald Trump, not only in books, but even recently with the back and forth with both Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky, Bolton's been very critical of him. This seems like it could well be a personal thing. Not to say that Bolton doesn't have classified documents. There have been prior attempts at legal processes to try to figure that out. But we want to catch you all up on what's been going on, what different people think is the motivation for this. And we should start first with the DOJ formerly having investigated him. There had been a legal attempt to stop the publication of a memoir that he published, or if they couldn't stop him from publishing, at least stop him from getting money from it. That didn't end up happening previously. Back in 2021, the DOJ under the Biden administration shut down the criminal investigation that was ongoing into John Bolton at that point. And whether this is a sort of like partisan targeting of John Bolton, it's not the first thing that the Trump administration this time around has done in regards to John Bolton. One of the literal first acts that Donald Trump took when he was sworn in as president was to pull the security clearances from a number of former intelligence agencies, as well as taking away security details from some of those. And John Bolton was one of those. And that is significant because John Bolton has previously faced credible accusations. We think that Iran might be targeting him for violence, which Donald Trump himself has faced. And so one might have thought there could be some empathy, but there was not. And so now we're trying to figure out exactly what they were aiming to get. He hasn't been charged, at least as of right now. But JD Vance says that this isn't just about the classified documents that were involved in the initial reporting.
What's at the root of this? Is this about classified documents?
Well, again, I'll let the FBI speak to that. Classified documents are certainly part of it, but I think that there's a broad concern about Ambassador Bolton. They're going to look into it, and like I said, if there's no crime here, we're not going to prosecute it. If there is a crime here, of course, Ambassador Bolton will get his day in court. That's how it should be. But again, our focus here is on, did he break the law? Did he commit crimes against the American people? If so, then he deserves to be prosecuted.
So to be very clear, if it turns out that there was nothing there, nobody can complain because they're just curious, which was definitely, if we were to go back how JD Vance was talking about the raid on Donald Trump a couple of years ago. In any event, we're gonna discuss in just a sec, but first you should hear a little bit more of what Donald Trump had to say about John Bolton in response to the reporting of the raid.
I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife. When I hired him, he served a good purpose because, as you know, he was one of the people that forced Bush to do the ridiculous bombings in the Middle East. Bolton, he wants to always kill people, and he's very bad at what he does. But he worked out great for me because every time he doesn't talk, he's like a very quiet person, except on television. If he could say something bad about Trump, he'll always do that. But he really doesn't talk. He's quiet. And I'd walk into a room with him with a foreign country, and the foreign country would give me everything because they said, oh no, they're going to get blown up because John Bolton's there. He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. I mean, we're going to find out.
Okay, so Cenk, I just want you to imagine if the FBI raids Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago for classified documents and they go to Biden for reaction. He says, well, I didn't know about it, but maybe he's unpatriotic. Kind of a lowlife. I don't like the guy, We're gonna see what happens. How do you think Fox would have responded to that?
They're targeting him on purpose based on personal issues with him. That's outrageous. Okay, so A, that's how they would have responded. B, that is how they responded. Biden didn't say anything like that, and they responded that way anyway. So guys, look, if you're MAGA, at some point you got to make up your mind, right? So, oh my God, I can't believe you'd go in and see if you could find classified documents by raiding someone's home like Mar-a-Lago. And now you switch to, it's awesome when you raid someone's home to see if you could find classified documents from a government official. So which one is it? It's just, come on. But as we all know, some folks are hopeless. They're blinded by certain things and they can't see straight. So now you got to look at what really happened here and what are the actual facts. And so there are two things that make me pause before I say it's total junk. So I'll get to those two in a second. But in terms of why I think it's junk, well, Trump has said a million times how much he hates John Bolton and how he wanted to target his enemies. And he's literally, Bolton is on Kash Patel's enemies list. So like when you have an enemies list and then you try to find a crime to get that political enemy, well, that's just the worst thing you could do. I mean, that's a total frontal attack on our democracy and our constitutional system. So look, one of the reasons they're going after John Bolton first is because everyone hates him. The left hates him, the right hates him, the middle hates him, his mom hates him, okay? His mustache hates him and says, why do you have me on here and have everyone make fun of me? So, but we can't fall into that trap, guys, because it's not about John Bolton's policies, which we can't stand. It's not about John Bolton as a person that we can't stand. It's about whether we're going to protect his rights. And we have to protect his rights, otherwise we're taking away everyone else's rights. So real quick, the two things that make me go, well, maybe. I mean, tiniest amount of maybe is they did get a warrant from a judge to do this. So apparently they had a tiny amount of evidence at a minimum. And the Biden team, when they first got in, closed the investigation on Bolton that Trump had started in his first term once Bolton left the administration. But then they reopened it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So am I willing to hear out the evidence? And if it turns out Bolton did something actually terrible, should we prosecute him? Of course, of course. I have no love for him. I have no need to protect him. I don't want him to be above the law and I don't want him to be below the law. I want everyone to get the same kind of justice. But if you're not super concerned about this, given all of the context, you're nuts. Like, guys, they have enemies listed and now they're picking them off one by one. And to me my number one concern is I've totally lost trust in our government completely. So already it was threadbare trust to begin with. Everybody's got that black pill ready in their hands that Anna's already taken, right? But now under the Trump administration, and nothing they do is based on the law. It appears that everything they're doing is based on politics and Donald Trump's personal grievances. So when the government says something now, back when I was younger, they used to carry some weight. Then it got less and less weighty. And now when the government says something, it's borderline Israeli, like totally disregarded, totally irrelevant. Try to somehow get the facts despite the government propaganda that's almost certainly a lie.
I'm just waiting for this administration to do something or put their might behind something and have there be some there. Whether that be immigration and their approach to that, which is just a lot of pomp and circumstance, just a lot of, basically sensationalist type of behaviors in order to get headlines. Like that's just what they do. The stuff with the cops and the feds in DC and like, oh, we're gonna bring the army and the National Guard to DC. And look, there's legitimate crime that happens in DC. Carjackings, all kinds of stuff that's happening in DC. The most crime riddled areas of the city where citizens will probably be like, hey man, it'd be nice to clean some of this up. None of these federal troops are anywhere to be seen. The tariffs, which, they develop a nickname for this guy, Taco Trump, where it's just like, it's all just bluster. Like everything is just bluster. I'm waiting for these guys to announce something huge, to make a big show of something and actually provide us with like hard evidence about why they're doing this and why it makes sense. And here's the evidence that backs it up. There's just nothing. I mean, this John Bolton thing, it's early days. Like you, Cenk, I'll be here waiting. There's no love lost between me and John Bolton. I think the guy's a scumbag completely. He's never seen a war that he didn't like, a place he didn't want to bomb, an area that he didn't want to commit US troops to. He's a complete and utter sick warmonger. There's no doubt about it. But like the rest of this stuff, I'm waiting for these people to provide something of substance, do something meaningful once, and I'm afraid this won't be that opportunity for them. And lastly, what I'll say is and again, like with the bluster, it serves one purpose, like a singular purpose. Like you can't go against Donald Trump. If you make yourself Donald Trump's enemy, that goes to all the Republicans in Congress, in the Senate, whoever you are out there. If you go get crosswise of Donald Trump, he's gonna come after you with whatever this type of stuff is.
Yeah, it's not like, he might tweet about me or something like we might have thought. Like, no, he'll fine your university billions of dollars. He'll shut down your museum. He'll get your show canceled. If you're, a governor of the Fed that he doesn't like, he'll find some paperwork issue and he'll try to literally get you sent to jail to clear that spot. Like, this is a person who is doing everything the Republicans pretended to think out of control Dark Brandon was doing that he would never ever do, except worse. That's what he's doing. I'd remind everyone, by the way, so it's easy to draw comparisons to what happened, as I have, to Donald Trump with Mar-a-Lago in this. I want to remind everyone, with Mar-a-Lago, they reached out to him multiple times to give the documents back, and he refused to. He forced their hand so hard, and now they're doing what could end up being a fishing expedition. Not necessarily. Again, I'll complete the trifecta. I don't like John Bolton either. I would not be surprised if he had stolen a document. I also don't think that's why they're searching his house. I don't think they'd care if he was a different person. I think they care because it's John Bolton. And I have a few other thoughts, but I want to get us to this next section. Why don't we do a little bit of a rewind to when John Bolton was asked a question less than 2 weeks ago.
We're about to talk about Trump's retribution campaign we're seeing at the FBI and the Justice Department. You're obviously on his enemies list. At least Kash Patel's enemies list. Are you worried that they're going to come after you in some way? I mean, he's hinted at it before.
Well, I think he's already come after me and several others in withdrawing the protection that we had from the Iranians for the attack on Qasem Soleimani. So I think, and I said in the new forward to the paperback edition of my book, I think it is a retribution presidency.
And I think that's as clear as it could possibly be. By the way, he mentioned Iran there. And one extra bit of irony that I just think is so funny about this is that Donald Trump points out that John Bolton was a bad advisor because he was a warmonger, which he definitely is. He was always pushing for war. And I just remember, maybe you do too, the number of times that Donald Trump specifically complained about how John Bolton was encouraging him to go to war with Iran. And then, of course, he ended up doing the exact same thing. I don't know, maybe Bibi delivers the message better. Maybe he gives Trump the bedroom eyes. I don't know why it was so much more convincing coming out of Netanyahu's mouth than it was John Bolton, but I guess John Bolton got the war he wanted eventually. In any event, in response to the raid, FBI Director Kash Patel, one of the weirdest phrases in the English language, he had to say this: no one is above the law, FBI agents on mission. And I just think, I've been too critical of the right. I often say that they can't do comedy, but that was pretty good. I think that's pretty funny. I like topical humor. No one's above the law. Obviously, the Supreme Court has told us that Donald Trump is above the law. We know from the last year or two, he's above the law. And isn't it funny, in response to this and everything else Donald Trump is doing to target his political opponents, to think about how Joe Biden was just wringing his hands like, Donald Trump definitely committed crimes, but Merrick, don't move too fast. Give it a couple years. Just think about it, as they talk about him weaponizing the justice system. And now it's just it's his personal lawyers. And Cenk, I'll throw it to you. No one is above the law. Haven't you guys been covering that story of that Israeli cybersecurity official? Kind of feel like he's above the law.
Yeah. So look, Trump says that he should be above the law. And they made that argument in front of the Supreme Court and they won that argument. So I guess that's that on the argument overall. Second of all, to John's point, almost every Israeli is above the law because we've caught tons of Israeli spies, and normally you'd get a huge sentence, sometimes a life sentence for being a spy. We just give them right back to Israel. Oh, congratulations, do it again, no problem. Sorry, I wish we hadn't caught him. okay? And then we caught this pedophile in Las Vegas, and because he's the Israeli government official, they just let him go, and he's gone. So he's above the law. So any accountability for Israel? I mean, Netanyahu obviously above the law. He can do anything he wants. He is the law here. Whenever anybody who's rich and powerful says no one's above the law, I always find it to be a joke overall, let alone those egregious cases. Now, in the case of John Bolton, one more thing that you should know. They're like, oh, he put some things in his book that might have been classified. And there's dispute about whether they were classified. Okay, yes, but before you publish a book, you're supposed to ask, hey, is it okay to publish these details? And the government either gives you clearance or they don't, right? In this case, so you're perfectly understand the facts at play here, they gave him permission and he printed the book. And then after the book was printed, they're like, the Trump people are taking back some of the permission. And we now think retroactively that they were classified. So you know how Trump says it's okay, he could steal any classified documents he likes and put them in a Mar-a-Lago bathroom and God knows does whatever he wants with them after the presidency. He says, because I laser-eyed them. If I laser-eye them, they become unclassified. I guess he laser-eyed Bolton's documents and made them reclassified. But no, in a normal, decent, rational justice system, you don't tell a guy, yeah, it's legal, you go ahead and do it. And then after he does it, go, yeah, just kidding, now I'm gonna put you in prison for it. That's not how our system works.
I got nothing more to add. Again, this is just keeping with, excuse me, Trump's intimidation tactics. And it's obviously quite effective when people are like, hey, how come no Republicans have a spine? How come they're willing to twist themselves into knots, defending the inconsistencies and the incoherence of the Trump agenda, thereby making themselves look stupid in public? A lot of times they're defending stuff that just 3 days before they were calling horrible. They just look personally stupid in public, and people say, why are Republicans in the government willing to do this? And this is a good example of why. When you suck up to Trump, you get goodies. When you go against him, you get reprimanded.
Yeah, I want to give you guys a poll to participate in because this one's painful. Let's see if you guys can do it. TYT.com. Should we defend John Bolton? A, no, I just can't. Okay, and B, yes, it's important to defend his rights. And so the correct answer is winning for now, but I'm amused with the people who are like, I can't, I just can't, not with Bolton. So, yeah, and at least this one's not connected to Israel because Bolton's a neocon and would do everything that Israel commands, and they arrested him anyway. So hey, okay, at a minimum, it has nothing to do with Israel. Thank God, finally we found a story. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.